I stood there with trembling hands, holding the letter I found hidden deep in my late father's drawer. My stepmother had always acted too nice, too sweet to be true. And now, the truth was written in black and white. She had forged signatures, mine and my father's. She was planning to sell the last piece of land my father left me. Without my knowledge. And not just that, she had already taken half the payment. "I raised you like my own daughter," she used to say. Yeah, right. Turns out she was just grooming me to trust her, so I wouldn't notice when she took everything. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. She didn't just take something material, she took my father's legacy. And I was going to take everything back, in front of the very family she fooled. But first, I needed to plan. Growing up, I never knew my real mother. She died when I was just a toddler. My memories of her exist only in the faded photos tucked into an old album, the one my father used to open on lonely nights when he thought I was asleep. My father was a quiet man, wise, kind, and deeply private. After years of being a single parent, he met Clara. She was beautiful, elegant, and always smiling. At first, she felt like a gift. I was 10, hungry for a mother figure, and she gave me everything I thought I wanted: bedtime kisses, surprise gifts, even girly talks about makeup and boys as I grew older. But looking back now, those gestures feel calculated. Clara and Dad married a year after they met. And just like that, she became Mom. She never pressured me to call her that, but I remember her lighting up every time I did. It's almost like she needed that title to validate something. The years went on. My father never remarried for love, he married for stability. I can say that now, because I lived under the same roof with two people who barely touched each other after the honeymoon photos were printed. He loved me. Clara loved the idea of our family. When I turned 17, I overheard their argument one night. Clara wanted Dad to sell the farmhouse that had belonged to my grandparents. It was old, out in the countryside, but still had emotional value. And real estate value too. "It's in her name," my father said sharply. "She's a child," Clara replied coldly. "You think she knows how to handle land?" That night was the first time I questioned her intentions. But Dad didn't budge. He had changed the will long ago. That land was mine, a part of my bloodline, and Clara wasn't supposed to touch it. Years passed. Dad got sick. A long illness, painful and slow. Clara managed the medicine, the hospital visits, the bills. I tried, I really did, but she pushed me aside gently at first, then firmly. "He needs calm," she would whisper. "He doesn't want you to see him like this," she insisted. When Dad finally passed, she hugged me and cried louder than I did. But I remember her hands. Cold. Steady. Dry. Within a week, she had control over everything: the accounts, the house, even the car. She told me Dad had updated the will to make her executor, and at the time, I didn't question her. I was drowning in grief. It wasn't until last week, when I was cleaning out the back room and found the hidden envelope in his locked drawer, that I discovered the truth. His real will. His real signature. Everything left to me. And now, Clara's name was on the for sale paperwork of my farmhouse. She was trying to sell it under my name. And get away with it. Just like that. She underestimated me. I stared at the will in my hands. My name, written in my father's careful script, the ink slightly faded, but unmistakably real. The land, the farmhouse, even his personal savings, all of it left to me. Not Clara. Me. I sat there, heart pounding in my chest like a war drum. Betrayal doesn't always come like a slap. Sometimes it arrives in silence, tucked inside old drawers, signed and sealed, waiting for you to be ready to see the truth. Clara had lied. She'd buried more than just my father. The first red flag? The lawyer. I remembered when Clara had taken me to finalize the paperwork after Dad's funeral. I barely spoke. My head was a foggy mess. But now I remembered. That office didn't have his photo. His diploma wasn't from any real law school. And the way he rushed through the documents, the way Clara kept cutting me off when I tried to ask something. It wasn't grief. It was a cover-up. I searched the name of the lawyer online. Nothing. No listings. No website. The address? Rented under a different name altogether. That man wasn't a lawyer. He was a paid actor. That's when the pieces started falling into place. I dug deeper. Her phone bill. She left it open once, on the dining table. I copied down numbers, looked them up, and found something chilling. She'd been in contact with a real estate broker. Not once. Not twice. Dozens of times. The same broker who had sent me an email, pretending to be a government agent reviewing rural land claims. A subtle way to get my signature, hidden under land audit paperwork. I had almost signed it. She had been plotting this for months, if not years. But the worst was still coming. A neighbor from the countryside messaged me on Facebook. "Hi, sweetheart. I saw a woman showing your granddad's farmhouse to some men. Is everything okay?" My stomach dropped. I hadn't told anyone that I was selling the place. Because I wasn't. I drove out there the next day. Heart in my throat, hands tight on the wheel. As I reached the dirt path, I saw the realtor's car parked outside. Clara stood on the porch with two men in suits, smiling like she owned the world. I didn't approach them. I waited until they left. Then I walked up the wooden steps, opened the old door, and walked in. Everything had been moved. Furniture rearranged. Family photos taken down. Even the smell, that old comforting mix of pine wood and Dad's aftershave, was gone. She had erased him. She turned around and saw me. For a split second, just 1 second. I saw it. Fear. "Sweetheart," she said, voice laced with fake surprise. "I thought you were in the city today." "I was," I said. "But I missed home." She laughed. "Well, you should have called. I would have cleaned up." "You mean staged the house?" I cut her off. Silence. She adjusted her scarf. "I think you're misunderstanding things." "Oh, I'm very clear now. I found Dad's real will." She froze. The silence between us felt heavier than grief. "You're bluffing," she whispered. I pulled the copy from my bag and placed it gently on the table. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened, but no words came. "You tried to sell what wasn't yours," I said. "And now, Clara, I'm going to take it all back." I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't need to. She walked out slowly, like a ghost. And I knew, in that moment, she was afraid. Not of what I could do, but of what I now knew. I wasn't the broken girl at my dad's funeral anymore. She had made me stronger by trying to destroy me. And now, it was my turn to unravel everything she had built. The silence after Clara walked out wasn't peaceful, it was electric, like the air before a storm. I stood there in my father's home, staring at the will on the table, the same table where he once taught me how to spell my name, fold paper planes, and speak my truth. And now, it was time to fight for what was mine. The very next day, the threats started. A crisp envelope was slid under my apartment door. No stamp. No address. Inside was a letterhead marked eviction warning, supposedly from the county court. It accused me of trespassing on a property that legally belonged to Clara. But I wasn't scared. I had the real will. And I had already taken it to a trusted estate lawyer, who confirmed everything, down to the notary's stamp and the registration code. My father had left no loopholes. No room for doubt. Clara was trying to bluff her way through this war. But I had facts. I had truth. And this time, I had fire. Then came the manipulation. She started calling old family friends, neighbors, even distant cousins. Spinning tales about how I was unstable, acting out, still struggling with Dad's death. I received concerned messages. "Are you okay? Clara says you're having a breakdown. Maybe you should step back and let her handle things." They believed her. Because she wore pearls and practiced smiles. And I was just the girl who disappeared from family gatherings after Dad's funeral. But here's the thing about playing the victim. You can only wear the mask so long before it cracks. I started collecting evidence. Screenshots of her fake documents. Photos from the staged house viewings. Recordings of our conversations, calm and clear, with her lies caught on tape. I was building my own wall. Brick by brick. Truth by truth. And Clara? She was starting to sense it. She stopped calling me. Stopped responding. Until one day, she showed up at my apartment. Dressed in her expensive coat. Lipstick perfect. Hair flawless. But her eyes, they were wild. "Let's talk," she said through clenched teeth. I didn't invite her in. I stepped outside. "You can't do this," she hissed. "You're destroying everything your father built." "No," I said calmly. "You destroyed it the day you lied to his only daughter." She flinched, just for a second. "I made sacrifices for this family," she spat. "He never even appreciated me. Do you know what it's like to watch someone leave everything to a child while you kept the house running, paid bills, smiled through everything?" I took a slow breath. That house was his soul. His legacy. And you tried to erase it. Tears welled in her eyes. Real or fake? I didn't care anymore. Walk away, Clara, I said. While you still have your name intact. She stared at me, mouth trembling. Then she turned and walked down the hallway, heels echoing like a retreating drumbeat of defeat. That was the moment. The true breaking point. Not when I found the will. Not when I saw the lies. But when she realized I wasn't scared anymore. She had tried to bury me. But she didn't know I was a seed. And now, it was time for the final move. A week passed. Clara had gone completely silent. No more letters. No more calls. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that tells you a storm is brewing. But I wasn't sitting idle anymore. I was ready for war. My lawyer filed an injunction to freeze all activity on the house. The real will, notarized and registered, had been submitted to the estate court. Clara's fake documents? The lawyer shredded them, not just legally, but verbally too, calling them amateur forgeries at best. And just like that, the legal tide turned. Clara could no longer list the house. No more open houses. No more quiet deals behind my back. It was my house now. But revenge, true revenge, is never just about winning in court. It's about truth being seen. So I planned something she would never forget. I sent out invitations. To every family member. Every neighbor Clara lied to. Even the lawyer she had once tried to bribe. I called it a celebration of my father's legacy. Held in the very living room Clara tried to sell. She wasn't invited. But I knew she'd come. The house looked beautiful that day. Photos of my father on every wall. Soft music playing, his favorite jazz. Candles lit in the hallway. Peaceful. Warm. Honest. People came. Curious. Most had heard whispers. Some came out of guilt. Others for drama. I stood in the middle of the room and raised a glass. Thank you for being here, I began. My father built this house with love. And before he passed, he left me something far more valuable than bricks and furniture. I pulled out the original will. This. Gasps. Eyes widened. I explained everything. Calmly. Truthfully. How Clara had lied. Forged. Manipulated. How she nearly got away with it. And how she was now under investigation for fraud. People were stunned. Embarrassed. Some even apologized to me. Just then, as if scripted by fate, Clara walked in. Wearing black. Face pale. You did this to embarrass me, she hissed. No, I said. You did this to yourself. I turned to the crowd. She thought I was weak. Just a daughter with no voice. But my father taught me better. Then I said the words that burned into everyone's memory. She tried to steal a house. But I reclaimed a legacy. Clara stood frozen. Speechless. Then, she turned and left. For good. Weeks later, I found out she had left the city. Her name ruined. Reputation shattered. Justice was served, not just in court, but in the eyes of everyone she fooled. I still live in that house. Not because it's grand. Not because it's expensive. But because it reminds me. Truth doesn't need to scream, it stands. And no matter how many lies surround it, truth always finds a way to rise. If you've ever been made to feel powerless by someone older, louder, or crueler, I want you to remember this. They only win if you stay silent. Speak up. Stand tall. And when the time comes, reclaim your story. Because no one gets to rewrite your legacy but you.